It is a gloriously hot and sunny afternoon here at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium for our third weekend of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. Welcome everybody to race one. The grid is starting to form and we are in for our first 50-minute race of the weekend for these cars then, with the usual format of a pit stop window between 20 and 30 minutes. If you want to have a co-driver, you can, but if you want to go solo, you have a slightly longer pit stop. We've already had races at Paul Ricard, then we had the standalone race weekend at Imola, and now back on the championship trail along with GT World Challenge Spa, the Nürburgring and Barcelona to come before the regional championships are all decided at Monza as part of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo World Final weekend. David Addison and Jonathan Grace trackside. First up, Jonathan, not only welcome to Super Trofeo Europe, but welcome to Europe, welcome to Spa. What do you think?
Thank you very much. This has been a bucket list track of mine for quite some time now, so it's a treat not only to come here, but to come here on a properly hot and sunny weekend as well. It's been a challenge for us walking around the paddock. It's certainly been a challenge for those on track as well.
Yeah, I'd love to say it's always like this at Spa, but that would be a fib, I have to confess. Track temperature, as you see, 54.7 degrees. Yeah, it's Spa, not Sepang. Not Sonoma, it's Spa, and it's that track temperature. There's the grid then, everybody in that same base car, the Lamborghini Huracan. It's a 520 horsepower beast with a 5.2 litre V10 engine mated to a 6-speed gearbox. Pit stop is 132 seconds if you've got a co-driver, 135 if you're on your own. Why the difference? Well, if you're in the car all the way through, you do have a bit of an advantage. You know what it feels like after a pit stop. You know what the track feels like going into that second stint. So the extra time just to balance it out a little bit for the incoming driver.
Well, I think one of the things that you'll notice feel-wise is how the tires are feeling. Hasn't that been a story of the weekend? And if they can go the distance as well, because it has been properly hot, it's been greasy, and that's been a huge challenge.
It has indeed, and these cars are on Hankook tyres. Now, Dakota Jane is patrolling the grid for us and topping up her Santan. Let's get down and join her.
I'm here down at the grid with P8. Now, these are the drivers who we expected to be all the way up there on the first row of the grid. Now, you guys maybe didn't do your homework with the tyres. What's brought you down here to P8 in qualifying?
Because we were looking for the shadow, because we were not under the sun. Anyway, we are happy about the car for the race pace. We will try our best. And yeah, qualifying was not perfect, but we are in a good shape for the race. So we will do our maximum to bring home the most points that we can.
Now, it's unusual in Super Trofeo that we see the drivers actually outside of the car on the grid. What's the temperature like inside? Are you going to be able to cope?
Yesterday they say around 70, but I don't know. It's more than 30 outside. It's not Spa, this one. It's Hungaroring, like it's really hot. But yeah, it's the same for everybody, so just chill a bit before the start of the race. We are ready and we will do our best as always.
Grazie mille, in bocca al lupo.
Ciao.
So Kim Gilardoni, who shares with Simone Iquenta, championship leader in Pro. We have a Pro, a Pro-Am, an Am and a Lamborghini Cup class. Number 44 there you see down on the grid is Axel Bengtsson to go first in the Lippert motorsport car. Umbrellas at Spa, a regular thing, Jonathan, but rarely to keep the sun off a driver.
I keep hearing about all this rain that you have in this part of the world. I haven't seen any yet. There's a couple of Pixar clouds about, but that's just it. Other than it has been properly hot and sunny, the sun in full effect.
Yeah, you just think that rain is a mirage, don't you? There you can see then down on the grid with the doors wide open to get a little bit of air. The pole position car, Mats Tallinn and Axel Bengtsson. And that was the car you were looking at for the Lippert car from afar. At the back of the grid, you can see number 75, which is Harry Zyrel to go first. Chris Vanderdrift will take over that car. That's going to be one to watch. Let's get back to the grid. Paolo Biglieri drives for the Autosport Racing Service team, showing with Marzio Moretti. Dakota's with him.
Now, hot is an understatement. It's boiling down here on the grid. You can feel the heat coming up from the asphalt. Pablo, obviously, you struggled a little bit in qualifying as well because we expected you to be on the first line of the grid like the competitors behind you. What's the challenges today, minus the heat?
The challenge today will be to manage the tires and to try to keep the tires in the good temperature and pressure to try to finish the race as much as we can. We will play a lot with ABS and traction control, trying to manage the end of the race. That will be very difficult also for the heat inside the car as well.
Now the Pro-Am Championship is super close. I think there's 1 point that differentiates all 4 of you. You're obviously in 3rd place at the moment. So this is going to be really a race to determine who's going to be staying in the top of the championship for Pro-Am.
Let's say the championship will be like it's today here in Spa. Very hot. Let's try to play fair as much as we can in this race, and also try to keep the championship fight, and we will try to be in front at the end of this weekend. Let's try.
Here we go, we've got one other problem. Your driver's actually not in the car, so Moretti, we'll let you get in the car. Thank you very much, Pablo. Good luck for the race.
Drivers, I can imagine, trying to find as much shade as they possibly can. Marzio Moretti gets on board the car now, sort of folds himself in to the Huracan. Kevin Gelardoni, you heard from, he and Simone Iaquinta, championship leaders, and they've had a very good run with 2 pole positions already and a win coming at Paul Ricard, but perhaps the best of seasons, even though they're second in points. 2 wins, Patrick Fraboni and Silas Rutter. They had both of their wins at Imola, whilst Nicolas Pogatti and Benedetto Strignano were winners at Paul Ricard. And then just throw water over yourself, try and cool down as much as possible. It's not much fun, I suspect, being in the car for the first stint, because you're there now, there's no air, you're waiting, temperatures are going up. You want to get moving and get some air through the car, yeah?
Oh, I can imagine, but it would be equally difficult having to watch on from the pit wall for the first stint, already baking in the sun, albeit under some shade, but then knowing it's going to get even hotter once you climb aboard if you are, in fact, in a multi-driver pairing.
Number 66 is another one to watch, Paul Levet and Miguel Cristobal. Paul Levet is due to be the start driver. We might grab a quick word with him before we go racing.
Paul, obviously you're one of the drivers who got the tyre pressures correct actually in qualifying, which ended you up on the front row of the grid. Obviously not in first place, probably where you wanted to be, but just as good. What's it like looking into turn 1 with the heat rising?
Yeah, 2 milliseconds off from pole. A shame, always a shame when you're so close, but it means also you have the pace starting on the front row, especially in a tricky T1 like in Spa. It's always good. Now let's see if we get the tire pressures right for the race also.
How are you going to be able to manage the tires?
Sorry?
How are you going to manage the tires?
Manage the tires? That's a long question. I can't tell you all my secrets, but for sure tire degradation in a track like Spa is always important. And with the heat we have now, 36 degrees in the air, it's more than a problem. So yeah, very conservative on the driving at least, and a few things on the setup.
Good luck, bon chance. There's Paul Levet.
Thanks to Dakota. Paul Levet, winner of the European Championship last year. Then, this year with a different co-driver. Often is the case that you hook up with a team and you are moved, depending on the customer base, either from a pro to a pro-am car. You can still be the pro, but you might be moved to drive with a customer. So Måns Tallin on pole position, he did the time. The driver that starts this race in the double driver entry is the one that did the time. Måns Tallin, former Renault Junior Cup Sweden racer, Ginettas, and then came into Lamborghini Super Trofeo last year. Axel Bengtsson, his co-driver, came out of the radical single-seat sports car route up into touring cars and then into Lamborghini this year. Number 70 you're looking at there on the grid, which is another car to watch. Brendan Leach, another former champion, and Don Yount, the American driver who did a good effort in that car to put it third on the grid.
Absolutely did, and one of a couple one-off entries this weekend as well. Spa's a special place, and understandably teams are eager to get on the grid, but nice to see the 2023 European champion returning to the grid as well.
If I say Don Yount's from Texas, am I right?
He is, I believe.
So this temperature's, nothing to him.
Just a normal afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, can't understand what all the fuss is about. There is Egor Oroshev, who is in the car shared with Shota Abkhazova. Now, Shota Abkhazova, the Kazakhstan driver, was busy winning races here last weekend in GT2. Egor Oroshev, very, very rapid indeed, so he is one to watch as well. It's a rolling start. Don't forget, Lamborghini Super Trofeo runs not only in Europe, but in Asia and North America as well. And it's gone from being somewhere that amateur racers come and have a bit of fun to a really serious platform if you want to become a GT racer. And whenever I've seen the North American Championship, when it's come over to Europe for the World Final, it's always been hugely competitive. Asia the same. This is serious racing.
Oh, it certainly is, and what a treat as well. Global effort for Super Trofeo this weekend on track at Watkins Glen, and you can view those rounds as well as the couple here we have at Spa. But you're right, it's a lot of race car underneath you. A naturally aspirated V10, it's a lot of displacement, over 5 liters. It's a lot of car under you, especially when conditions on track are already slippery. They're quite a thing to manage, especially once you get halfway through the stint, half of the tire has worn away on a very treacherous racetrack at that.
Yeah, Dakota made the point to drivers about managing tyres, managing tyre pressures. The bulk of the rubber that has gone down over the course of the weekend is from a Pirelli tyre. These cars run on Hankook, so it's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see how this tyre works on what's been laid down from a another manufacturer.
Absolutely. There's so much testing and development that goes in by each of these tire manufacturers, and Hankook has specially developed this tire to work with this car at a variety of different racing circuits here in Europe, over in North America, what have you. But you're right, playing nicely with other tire rubber, while it might be a consideration, is often a challenge, and we see it on weekends like this. But rest assured, I think it's one Hankook probably would have prepared for, although the heat may throw a little bit of a wrench in that, because we keep coming back to it. It's because it's been one of the big storylines this weekend.
Absolutely, yeah. If you've not got the hint already, it's hot, everybody. And very few fans are out in the sunshine. Lots of them in the shade as best they can be in the grandstands. Let's quickly look at the grid then as we get set to go racing. It is going to be on pole position Mons Tallinn, and the car of Paul Levet will line up alongside then. On the second row of the grid is the Brendan Leach and Don Yout entry, with Egor Orodchev ahead of Jonathan Cecotto and then Marzio Moretti. Next up will be Jerzy Spinkovic. Kevin Geladoni will be lining up alongside him ahead of Silas Rutter, and then Anthony Pretorius. There's Alfio Andrea Spina ahead of Matthias Saulanen. Nicola Pujati has Pietro Perolini for company ahead of the very experienced Renault Kuppens and newcomer Ulla Pettersson. Next up will be Rodri Gillian. Todd Kingsford is ahead of Peter Hegland, then Karim Auger. And a little bit further back on the grid is the car that Alessio Ruffini shares with Milos Pavlovic. Francesco Turzo will be ahead of the AM Championship leader Gregor Marchulski, and Alberto Baptista is another man to watch from Umar Abdullah Basalama. Holger Harpson is a regular driver to watch within the Lamborghini Cup. Next up, Philip Tang ahead of Peter Moller Domant, the Privitello family, and then Hari Zaraio will round out the grid. So the cars making their way on this formation lap. We had a list of cars withdrawn, but that grid that you've been looking at is not what was published a little while ago. So I suspect that somewhere that's not made it to us is an amended one, which has put one of those cars back into the race because it's slightly distorted out of order. However, as the cars work their way from Pif Paf down towards the Courbe Paul Frere, everybody now trying to bring the tyre temperatures up, the pressures up, and then we will get set to go racing. And that pole position car of Axel Bengston versus Paul Levet on the round of the first corner is going to be the fight. Two very, very quick drivers indeed. Right then, Axel Bengston versus Paul Levet. Brendan Leach from third on the grid, another former champion. He's going to be a man to watch. And Egor Orodchev, Jonathan Cecotto, who's been another champion of the Middle East World Final winner as well. Some big names up at the pointy end of this grid.
Absolutely, and any experience certainly helps, especially at Spa. But for those who have driven in this series in Europe before, they will recognize Spa from the grid. It's the only circuit, in fact, that has been in every season of the Super Trofeo Europe Championship since 2009. So for folks like a Brandon Leach, who's conquered the 2023 season in the pro class, he'll be well familiar with the lengthy and arduous turns here through the middle of the Ardennes forest. He said getting those Hankooks up to temperature, don't think that will be the tricky part, managing them and keeping the temperatures down as they start to collect 2 by 2 behind the Lamborghini Urus pace car heading into the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, so the Urus will, as the lead car, dive out of the way. The race director, Alain Adon, will want to make sure that everybody is in that proper Noah's Ark 2 by 2 formation. He wants you one behind the other, not slightly to one side, certainly not one row ahead of another. So it's now up to the pole position driver then, Axel Bengston, in that Leipert car, the bright yellow car, versus Paul Levet, the reigning champion on that second row. Brendan Leach, the Kiwi, the very quick Kiwi. And Egor Orodchev in the blue car, slightly out of sequence, as now Bengston floors the throttle, and a bad start by Paul Levet in comparison, and that car just does not pick up at all. He's losing place after place. The pack swarms around him like he's gone into limp home mode, and so Axel Bengston leads Brendan Leach as they dive down to La Source for the first time. A good start also being made by Anthony Pretorius to try to gain ground. 1 or 2 run wide. There are wheels in the gravel, more stones dragged onto the racetrack, but disaster for Paul Levet from the outside of the front row. That car just did not get away, did it?
No, it did not. Pulled sportingly out of the way off the racing line as best you can, but it's easier said than done on the race start. Is played beautifully to the 44's hand, who's just absolutely scampered away. Although we had a few car lengths advantage at the start, heading down the Kemmel Straight, that advantage has begun to close.
So game on for the race lead. Axel Bengtsson in the yellow livery versus Brendan Leach. Then up from the second row of the grid. Leach sticking to the leader as they dive into Le Corn for the first time. A good getaway also by Jerzy Spinkovic up into 4th place now. And also away nicely Jonathan Cecotto as the cars pour their way out of Le Corn, ready to drop down towards Bruxelles. And more mayhem because there's a car going through the gravel back onto the circuit. We'll pick up who that is in a moment, but he's in exactly the wrong place. People scatter left and right. So far so good, as now it tries to fire up, but there is certainly a very dramatic start to this race with cars all over the place. We've got one, of course, Paul Levey in real trouble early on, and it looks as though that's 46, which will be Renault Kuppens, and he's probably done more miles around Spa than most people, the Belgian driver. So Kuppens, I'm afraid, trying to get the car to refire, but it's so hot, doesn't want to play.
No, absolutely. The temperature's not only unkind to the tires, but on the machinery as well. I think race control doing the right thing and pulling the caution in there. Finally, the 46 is away, but look at all the gravel that's been strewn across the racetrack. You thought track conditions were slippery before. On already a pretty loaded corner. That's going to be treacherous next time around.
And it's not only that, look, as well, because the gravel that he's dragged onto the circuit being peppered around the track. They used to have the World Rallycross Championship at Spa. We might have another round of it coming up, looking at the state of the circuit. Whether or not that's going to be blown away by the cars within a lap is a moot point, but certainly the next time around, Axel Bengtsson as the race leader is going to have a totally different track surface because it's going to be covered in stones. He's under attack though from Brendan Leach down to the chicane. Leach takes a slightly different line on the approach to the corner, brakes then for the chicane, goes right, goes left. This will be the end of lap 1 in this 50-minute race. You've got Igor Orodchev in the mix. You've got also Cecotto and Moretti as they come pouring through. So to count them over the line with one in the book, it is Axel Bengtsson the leader. Brendan Leach is second. Third is Cecotto. Fourth is the orange car of Spinkovic. Fifth is Anthony Pretorius. Sixth is Silas Rutte. Then Simone Iaquenta, number 72. And in 8th place, Benedetto Strignano. And then Spinkovic in the orange car, the former Renault Clio champion, getting all crossed up, coming out of La Source. Bengtsson, though, getting away 0.3 of a second to the good as they came over the stripe.
Look at Leach just weaving this way and that just a little bit out of La Source as they head towards Eau Rouge, now finally on the Kemmel Straight, just trying to feel out that tire. And I love the respect given by Bengtsson early in the lap, just shading a little bit, even though he's probably about 5 or 6 car lengths back as they slam on the binders at the end of the Kemmel Straight. A little bit better of an advantage this time out front for the 44, but I don't think Leach is going anywhere.
I think you're right. Leach is sticking to Bengtsson, that's true. Now, Paul Levey, after that duff start, has got going, and he's up into 18th place. And look, Brendan Leach, though, weaving around. He's gone through that gravel trap that's on the road, if you see what I mean. And then he's quickly trying to clean the tyres and also work out, wow, why is the grip change? What do I need to do here? And as he weaves around, he's cleaned the tyres, he's got the grip back, and he's a bit more confident to push and to brake later into Bruxelles. But Levey, 18th then after that problem off the start. Another one that's dropped back, strangely, is Igor Orodchev, number 12, who was well up on the grid, as we'd seen, but has fallen quite a long way back from starting 4th. So a couple of quick cars to keep an eye on within this opening stint that will last for 20 minutes.
Actually, right into the clutches of Levey as well. It's always a dangerous thing when you have a car that has a lot of pace in it, that's so rapid in qualifying, starting at the rear of the grid, because they tend to charge their way through the field, as we're already seeing. And he's got a trio of cars battling just in front of him.
Here they come. That is the Rodrigue Gillion, very patriotic Belgian liveried car that's about to get mugged, because right round the outside goes Karim Auger. Karim used to be a regular in the 24 Hours of Spa, but has found a happy and successful home in Super Trofeo in recent years. Class leaders right now, the Pro Cup being led by Axel Bengtsson. Brendan Leach leads Pro-Am. A little bit further down the order, Todd Kingsford, the Australian driver, he's leading Am. And as far as Lamborghini Cup is concerned, Francisco Turzo, right, up towards Blanchimont they come. This is going to be the end of lap number 2, and Axel Bengtsson continues to lead the way, and we understand that Renault Kuppens has lost a tyre. So after his spin, the tyres come off the rim, and that's why Kuppens is in the pits. Bengtsson versus Leach then. There's still not much to choose between them, but Brendan Leach not quite close enough yet to make a move.
No, not quite. I suspect that they're holding station until further in the stint. You want to see if your opponent ahead is going to manage the tires as well as you are, if they're going to trip up on some of that gravel, some of the many difficult things around this beautiful Spa-Francorchamps circuit. But Brendan Leach is playing this one, I think, wisely. You never want to be too aggressive. It's the old adage, right? You can always lose a race in the first couple of corners, first couple of laps by extension, but they're always won towards the middle and the end. But ever the veteran, 2023 European champion, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to win races, and he certainly knows how to be successful at Spa.
Does indeed. Brendan Leach then, who was the Pro Cup champion in the European European Series back in 2023. Now there's a big effort going on here. Look, as Kevin Gilardoni comes under attack from Benedetto Strignano in number 15 as the cars wriggle their way now through Les Combes and just keeping the door closed in the nick of time with Gilardoni. You can see most of that gravel has been blown off the racing line, so it's sort of play on, if you like. Behind Strignano is Marzio Moretti, and then the top 10 being rounded out by number 34 now, which is the Rogerio Grotta driven car. Replay of the start. Now look, Levey just does not get going at all, like it's stuck in the gear or something electrical that just prevents it from changing up. And one assumes he had to do a Control-Alt-Delete, a system reset really, from the cab of the car.
I would certainly think so. And look, he's kind of powerless to even move out of the way until most of the pack has already gotten by him. Sporting job of the rest of the field of the 30-some-odd cars that were behind him to avoid him, even though they did dip a wheel or two into the gravel at La Source, but could have been a much worse situation.
So that was the run downhill. Axel Bengtsson then in the lead, and Renaud Coppens was the other driver in strife on that first lap. Eventually, as I say, Levey did pick up pace, got going again, and was 18th by the end of the opening lap as Renaud Coppens' squeal of tyres came into view, came through the gravel, but he was involved with Marzio Moretti, and there, look, is the tyre off the rim, and he has another moment on his way back towards the pit lane.
Yeah, just from bad to worse, getting service, and hopefully that will be buttoned up there. I wonder if one contributed to the other. It's impossible to know because we are simply commentators up here. I'm not an engineer. There's a reason why I talk about the cars and not wrench on them, but it looks to me that they've serviced that car in some capacity, so hopefully he can resume. But either way, a troubled start with a couple of spins in just a single lap is never the way you want to start a race.
I reckon we'd be certain of one thing, and that is at Blanchimont, you don't want the tyre coming off the rim. That's not the place to have it. That much we are certain. Axel Bengtsson is still the race leader, but the gap is creeping up. Now, remember I mentioned Egor Oroshev having hemorrhage time on the first lap. He's just done the fastest lap of the race. Oroshev in the blue car, number 12, is up into 13th place, and when traffic permits, lapping quicker than anybody else out there. So Egor Oroshev will be a driver to keep an eye to during this first stint. And again, because he runs in a car that's in the Pro-Am class and he's the pro, he will do as much of the 30 minutes available as he can.
And for the 2024 World Finals winner, he was up already 3 positions since the last time we spoke about him just a couple of minutes ago. I think that pace is absolutely going to be one to watch. There he is in that beautiful number 12 car, and he's already caught 3 or 4 different class cars just in front of him. Of course, that's always something you need to keep in mind as well. You want to make these overtakes and gain track position, but you never want to tangle with somebody that is outside of the class you're fighting in.
Very true indeed. And his co-driver, Shotram Kazava, is perhaps one of the ultimate motorsport impresarios. He's owned circuits, run teams, created championships, raced. What else has he done? You name it, he has done it for motorsport. And right round the outside going into Pouron goes Oroshev. Now that is a very brave and bold move indeed, and it takes the place away from Nathaniel Berraby. We were told he had withdrawn. That was the car that came back onto the grid. So Nathaniel Berraby gets mugged, and a drive-through is being given to Marzio Moretti, number 32, for causing a collision, for turning around Renaud Coppens effectively. So 32, drive-through penalty. That's what is given by the stewards, and that's going to here be a really, really costly amount of time.
Yeah, it's a lengthy pit lane, isn't it? I mean, any hindrance to your race pace and turning clean laps under green flag conditions is not favorable, but especially as well, 3 cars between him and the Pro-Am podium, that number 11 machine up at 5th overall. So running 4th, still a chance of a podium on. I would think that chance is just about erased.
I think you're right, but have a look at this for the race lead. That gap's come down. It was a second and a bit last time, 11 tenths effectively, and as Bengtsson and Leach come through, it's down to 3 tenths, and now Brendan Leach is having a red hot go, isn't he, to try to find a way through. So the Swedish driver Axel Bengtsson leads the Kiwi, Brendan Leach. They come now out of the hairpin at La Source. Jonathan Cecotto is still there in 3rd place. In 4th is Jerzy Spinkovic. Cecotto is worth keeping an eye on because, with all due deference, Sergei Afastiev, his co-driver, is not as experienced as Jonathan, nor is he as quick. So that car tends to really rely on the pace of Cecotto. And right now, he's not staying with the top 2.
He's not. He's about 1.7 seconds off the back of the number 70 car. He desperately needs to close that up in the next 10 or 15 minutes time at absolute maximum. But again, easier said than done in these tricky conditions, especially if we stay green. It can be another thing if we bunch things up under yellow. But despite a couple of spins early on, the field has stayed green for the time being.
We understand as well that Paul Levé's drama's off the line. As you see there, Orodchev making another move and getting ahead of number 34 of Rogerio Grota. And also in replay here, a massive send up the inside by Josef Knop. And he uses the car of Todd Kingsford as a bit of a break. But it was a fuel pump sensor issue which cut off the engine for Paul Levé. That's the news from Lamborghini's media department, courtesy of the team. So that explains what happened to Paul Levé and why now he's charging back up the order.
Well, that seems to be in working order now. And again, how quick he was in qualifying, it's no surprise the pace is as it is. But you can see how treacherous it is out there. Through the bus stop, a very tight sequence of corners, nobody wanting to relinquish position. You come to a place like Spa because you want to win. That's why we have a couple one-off entries. That's why it's been a feature on the calendar since 2009. This is a storied circuit, and a win at Spa, even if you're not fighting for the win in your respective class, does mean a lot.
It is a very special place, absolutely. And every year you come here, there's been a bit more work done, a bit more investment. It's a much more modern feel than ever it used to be. Paul Levé charging on then as he comes downhill. As I say, he was part of the championship winning squad last year, and the financial engineering student in his third season now in Super Trofeo, and absolutely flying. But it is still Egor Orodchev who is the quickest man on the circuit. Now, the race has got 38 minutes to go, but 8 of those will take you to the pit window. So some teams now starting to crunch the numbers. In a lot of cases, if you've got your pro in, as I say, you'll want him to stay out. But a bit further down the order, 28th, is another new entry for this weekend from Asia, Hari Zarai O, and Chris Vanderdrift, absolute weapon in single-seaters and Carrera Cup and Lamborghini Super Trofeo. He will take over, so they want that car in as quickly as. Up the inside there to gain a place goes Ole Pettersson, but he runs a bit deep into the chicane, and that lets Todd Kingsford come back at him. And the two of them are going to be absolutely toe-to-toe coming off the chicane, and a better exit from the chicane by Todd Kingsford puts the Australian back ahead as they run over the line. It's going to be a drag race, isn't it, all the way down to La Source. Todd Kingsford in the yellow nose car on the outside line, and he gets the switch back beautifully to go through and retake the place. Todd Kingsford then, who races GT4 cars in Thailand normally, falls back and then retakes the place, and now he's going to try and assert himself and get away. This for the AM Cup lead, and he was 94 thousandths ahead when they came over the line. He's about a length ahead as they get up Radion.
Look at the speed through Rouge and Radion as well. This battle I don't think is over. These trio of cars heading down towards the Kemmel Straight, but for Kingsford, a beautiful read through La Source as well. Recognizing the defense that he saw in the bus stop, said, all right, I've seen this story before, and I'm going to play this a little bit wiser. It comes away as they hit the brakes into Lecom, still at the point of this battle.
But also now into second place goes Karim Auger, whose car has a big snap of oversteer. Number 7, there it is. The slightly split identity car, if you like, because it's got black on one side, white on the other. But number 7, Karim Auger, then massively experienced driver, comes out of Bruxelles. And behind is dropping back ever so slightly, number 97 of Ole Pettersson, the Danish driver. He's another of the newcomers for this weekend. Limited race experience, but going nicely as he comes now into Rouen. So pit window beckons, and Axel Bengtsson having to fend off Brendan Leach for the race lead still, as we have a look at Kingsford versus Auger, and Pettersson is falling back just a little bit further now.
Falling back as well, Brendan Leach, albeit just by a little bit. Again, two different class cars, still leading their respective classes, but an overall win is an overall win, isn't it? And that's something Brendan Leach certainly knows how to do.
Yeah, I think in the second stint then start to think more about the classes, don't we? Because Leach will give way to Don Yout, who's not going to be able to match, I don't think, Mons Tallin's pace, but we need to put him in the context of Bronek Fomenek, who will take over number 11, the third place Pro-Am car from Anthony Pretorius. And Fomenek's a very quick guy within the Pro-Am class, GT2 champion last year in Europe. So with the Sergei Afastiev car of Jonathan Chicotto, third on the road at the moment, likely to drop back a bit, it could well be Yout versus Fomenek that we look for within the class. Downhill they go. So we're on to lap number 7. It's Axel Bengtsson ahead. It is Brendan Leach chasing after him, getting closer and closer and closer all the while to that pit window. And also, just have a look at 4th place Jesse Spinkovics. He's the class opposition to the Bengtsson Mons Tallinn car, but he's got, of course, those 2 Pro-Am entries to get past first.
Yeah, and a couple of seconds to make up as well. Quick point on Cecotto too. You mentioned that the fact that he needed to really get on the loud pedal, start to close in on the leaders. He's dropped about a half second since the last time we talked about him 5 or 6 laps ago, which may not be enough once that car is handed over, but it has brought him into contention potentially in a few laps time if this battle does resume with Brandon Leach and Bengtson at the front of this field to be in the conversation for the overall lead, because he certainly has reeled them in a little bit.
Yeah, he's getting louder in that conversation. You're right. They come now into Bruxelles. That's Egor Oroshev. They're back up into 9th. Started 4th. Had that drama on the first lap. We didn't see it, but something cost him a load of places. And the lead's about to change. Up the inside at Pont goes Brendan Leach. That's been in the post. The car has a bit of a twitch as he gets through the corner, but he hangs on to it. So Brendan Leach leads the way. And now Cecotto smells blood, doesn't he? He wants second place away from Axel Bengtson as they come into Piff Path. We work lap 7 here at Spa, and a new race leader, Brendan Leach. That was brave.
This is where Brendan Leach has been so wise. He hasn't been rash. He's showed the nose a few times in the braking zones, but he spent the first half of this race just studying his opponent and realizing maybe a little bit of line variation on the run down into Pouan. We've seen that in a few of the battles so far this afternoon, but springing the trap in a pretty committed part of this racetrack, it must be said. You can make a move there, but you have to be decisive, and you have to make sure that the grip is there to withstand it.
Job done. Let's have a look at it. It all started coming out of Speaker's corner. Bengtson tried to defend, realised in the end it wasn't going to happen. He gave just enough room to Leach and through on the inside, and there, look, he just touches the curb, Brendan. That slightly unsettles the car, but it was a good save, and he powers out the other side. And look, he's getting away already by about 3-4 lengths. The pit window is not yet open, but Brendan Leach, now that he's been released, is getting away as Axel Bengtson drops into the clutches of Jonathan Cecotto.
Yeah, we talked about the 31 charging, and now you said it, can smell a little bit of blood in the water. He will have also been watching the back end of that number 44 yellow Lamborghini, realizing where some of the strengths and weaknesses are. As he dips a little bit of a wheel off at the exit curbing of La Source, spewing even more gravel than we're used to seeing, as if there wasn't enough already, but that's hotted up. So too back in the AM class. This battle hasn't gone anywhere, has it?
No, Karim Moget not quite on the back of Todd Kingsford, but that slide by Todd might just give Karim a bit more of a chance. Ola Peterson is there in 3rd place in the white car, heading up towards the timing line now. And then behind them, you've got Rodrigue Gillon, who is 4th in the class as well. So all of this is for the AM class. Out of La Source they go, ready to drop down the hill, getting another super slow-mo. Todd Kingsford, is this where he touches the curb and gets all sideways? Let's have a look. Or does he launch himself? Turns in, back wags. And at normal speed, that's just like a tiny flick, but the super slow-mo makes it look so dramatic, doesn't it?
I think the stomach would have been fully dropping at that moment. You're going uphill just a little bit. The car is loaded. You're trying to trail off the brake pedal and get the car just the tiniest bit sideways, a few degrees of slip angle to help the turning, which should be slippery enough in these conditions already. That might have just been a tad bit of over-rotation, but either way, for a car that can be pretty tail-happy, that was a nice save.
Absolutely right, and he got away with it, and he's still there in the lead of the class. Mind you, Axel Bengtson here, look at the amount of time he's dropped in the space of not quite a lap, just over a lap, because Brendan Leach is away and gone, and now Cecotto getting ever closer to that yellow car of Axel Bengtson. Now, in fairness, it might be that Axel is struggling a little bit with the cockpit temperatures, or it may be that he's got a problem, but it is marked just how much time has been dropped. He was 1.3 seconds back when they came over the line, and that was within a lap.
Quite right. It's well over a 1.5 seconds difference on their last lap times between the top 2 drivers in their respective class. But Brendan Leach is off to the races. He is well and truly extending before this pit window opens. Already 2.1 seconds to the good. And
the window will be open next time for the leaders. But if you're the other side of midfield, you could pit on this lap. And I reckon that's going to help the car of Harry. Oh, a big mistake by Bengtson. You saw him sort of coming out of nowhere. He went deep into the chicane. Here, meanwhile, number 61 is Josef Knopp, and he is another of the drivers in this race with the co-driver. Pietro Perolini will take over for the second stint. Then you've got the Kingsford Ogier Peterson battle. This is 15th, 16th, 17th overall, but all for the AM class lead. Karim Ogier getting closer and closer. Window is open in 17 seconds, so they are going to miss out, but it could be the back markers that this plays into the hands of. Let's see. Karim Ogier down to the chicane. not really able to make a move there, and he has a snap of oversteer that really unsettles the car.
Yeah, that might pay dividends down into La Source. We'll have to wait and see as we check back in now on the main straightaway. 7 car looks to be all right, but back at the front of this field, look at Cicotto. He has absolutely closed up on the back of Benson.
He's all of a sudden woken up, hasn't he? What, 3 laps ago we were saying he wasn't making progress. Now it looks like when, not if, he can gain the place coming out of Les Combes down to Bruxelles. Cicotto lines up, looks for the inside, thinks better of it, slots back in behind. But Axel Bengtsson, after that really good first part of the stint, is struggling. We've had into the pit lane Alessio Ruffini to give way, and others coming into the pits as well. So the window is open. There is the car of Alessio Ruffini to give way to Milos Pavlovic. This is perfectly timed to get Pavlovic in as quick as he's another former champion. Meanwhile, battle is on further back as Paul Levey tries to get up the inside of Rogerio Grotta, and Levey to the outside into 9. Job done at Speaker's Corner. Brave stuff, nicely done.
Yeah, no quarter asked or given. It was a respectful move, though. Very easily can come to blows in that part of the racetrack. So well done for everybody keeping the nose clean. You don't want to bin it right before the pit window opens. I think as your teammate, you would hate to see that. So well done for everybody to keep the nose clean. But a couple early takers, and that plays into the strategy, doesn't it, right? You get a little bit of this pit window. Do you leave maybe the faster of the 2 drivers a little bit more track time on the beginning or end of the stint? But that's why we're also seeing a little bit more urgency in the AM class and the overall lead in this battle. You want to make the move. Track position is king in many cases, even if the undercut can be powerful.
That puts Levey 10th before he gives way to Miguel Cristobal, who is another experienced driver. Cristoval's raced all sorts of things, from Renault Clios to Le Mans LMP3, Le Mans Cup LMP3 prototypes. Leach stays out for another lap, as you might anticipate, as the quicker of the 2 drivers. What about Bengtsson? He's in, so out of 2nd place. That, I think, might well be a shrewd move, even though he put the car on pole position. Pace has been ebbing away late into that stint, so down the pit lane he comes. Mons Tallinn to take over, others are in as well, and there, look, Igor Orodchev squeezes up the inside of Benedetto Strignano, gains another place. That was fairly uncompromising by Igor Orodchev as he came out of the corner. So the Kazakhstan driver goes by, as down the pit lane comes Kevin Gilardoni as well, the championship leader out of Pro. That's another early stop. So now throw the order up into the air for a few laps. It'll all settle the other side of the pit window. And here have we had a change, because Todd Kingsford is ahead of Ola Pettersson. Into the pits comes Kingsford to give up the AM lead. Pettersson, though, has got himself ahead of Ogier.
It's a lot of faith in the teammate for Kingston to bow out of that one. Had his hands full early in this stint, but did a nice job at staying at the point of that battle. That can be very difficult to do with cars less than a second in your mirror for what's been a pretty significant part of this race already.
So there is, in the endurance pits, Axel Bengtsson in for Mons Tallinn. You can see the 2 pit lanes are connected as one here, so some teams operating out of the F1 pits, others out of the so-called endurance pits. And if you get a drive-through, you can understand why you hemorrhage so much time, because it's a long, long pit lane here.
Yes, it is. I mean, I can tell you just from walking the paddock, as I'm sure you're used to over the years, it takes a while to get around here, but it is a massive facility. It can hold a whole host of race cars. So even if we do have the different paddocks, it's a pretty remarkable to see them terraced throughout this beautiful facility, but it does make for quite a lengthy pit lane.
If ever you want to go somewhere to get your steps in, this is the place. Brendan Leach, race leader, and he will go long through this pit window. So Don Yount, not that we're having a pop it in, but he's not as quick as Brendan, so he will do the minimum, if you like, and they will leave Brendan Leach in that car for as long as possible. And now, as the stop cycle through and the road is clear around him, these have got to be qualifying laps, haven't they, really, to try to get an advantage over this car. But in real terms, Brendan Leach and Don Yount are fighting 31, which is Jonathan Cicotto, whose last lap was 2 seconds slower.
And if I'm Cicotto right now, I'm looking at that pace, because he's been running behind a couple of cars up until this point. Now in clear air, effectively, these are the laps that count. You really, really need to be quick before you hand that car over or make your pit stop, especially with a lack of opposition in front of you. Does not pit this time by, but look at that car already very, very slidey out of the final corner.
Absolutely right. So Leach, Cicotto, and then there, Jerzy Spinkovic, who's been a winner here in the past. He goes through for 3rd. Anthony Pretorius is 4th. Now Pretorius is 3rd in Pro-Am and 4th in the race, but I reckon that's going to be a real factor in the second stint as far as Pro-Am is concerned. Certainly he's got Bronek Formanek, the Czech driver, Anthony Pretorius from South Africa, so shows the international nature of this championship. And Pretorius in his 2nd year in Super Trofeo, really quick last season. Formanek coming back to the championship after a year away, winning in GT2 Europe. There into the race comes 15. Benedetto Strignano is now given way to Nicola Pugiati. and they had a win in the first race at Port Ricard, so that could be another car to keep an eye on once all the stops have cycled through. Here then, Spinkovic third, Pretorius fourth, up towards Lecombe.
Spinkovic, we've talked about him a little bit throughout the race, but he's really had a quiet but very productive race so far in this opening stint. I think the 25 has impressed me, even though he does have the hands full right now with the 11 behind. Because the majority of cars now have got to halfway, the track limit warnings for all cars have been reset. So go again, guys. Down the pit lane here, the next pair. Whoa, very, very, very late on the brakes with 1 or 2. And in comes there Francesco Turzo, and Alberto Baptista was the one behind him that oh so nearly tagged the back. They got away with it as Brendan Leach here, yet to pit. Stays out ahead of Jonathan Cecotto, but that gap now 6 seconds. Don Yout's gap over Bronick Formanek is going to be the one to really see once Formanek takes over from Anthony Pretorius. And that shows you just how hot it is out there. It is absolutely brutal. I can't even imagine under Nomex undergarments, a multi-layered Nomex suit in a race car that produces this much horsepower with the sun beating down on you, the pressure of a driver just in front or behind you. Even a half stint like this in a 50-minute race has got to be absolutely brutal. They do this for fun, you know. Brendan Leach then goes out of Blanchimont, traffic behind, but Brendan's lap times are good. The fastest lap of the race still done on lap 3 by Egor Oroshev, but Brendan Leach, last lap, personal best, and he's not done yet, look, in this stint. There's another lap in him. There's another lap in the window that he can do, at least one more. There is Cecotto into the pit lane, and they will therefore now put into that car Sergei Astafiev. Gets that car slowed down. We saw the near contact just a lap ago. There is time to be found diving your way into the pits. You, of course, have to make your way down towards the pit lane speed limit, and then, mind you, stay within the 132, 135 second minimum pit stop times end to end. But on the way in and out, we have seen over the years people get a little bit creative at Spa and take some liberties with where those white lines are to gain track position before you make your stop. Racing drivers take liberties. Never. Never. Outlandish. Yeah. Right, Cecotto in, so that gives Pretorius second place, and it's going to put now Silas Rutter up into third. Car cycling through these stops. You've got 22.5 minutes still on the clock, and Brendan Leach doing a very, very good job up front, still trying to build that advantage. Now there, number 12 is Egor Oroshev. He's yet to stop as well. That's another gun for hire, if you like, staying out for as long as possible before Shotrab Karzava takes over that car. Up the curb goes Oroshev on the exit of Lecombe. That is the car of Rodri Gillian, and he's now given way to Stéphane Lemray, the experienced Belgian journalist. And in the process of all of that, that has moved into contention because they've jumped ahead of Todd Kingsford on the pit stops. They were 4th in class earlier, now they're ahead of Kingsford. 31 just sat waiting for its pit stop time to end. Always a good sign if the car is waiting at the end. Some people may think it's an indication of something wrong. Not the case. It means you've done your pit stop expeditiously. Is up at the front of the field, nearly contact. The 72 did a good job of avoiding the 44, but this battle is not done. No, that's Simone Iaquenta in 72 having a go at Mons Tallinn. So they're both incoming drivers, stint 2 drivers, and Iaquenta is having a really good go here. This is for position. He gets crowded a little bit on the run up now towards Blanchimont, but the championship leader Simone Iaquenta crawling all over the back here of Mons Tallinn. You can see in the pit lane the Cecotto Astafiev car coming back into the race, but that's going to drop down a little bit because Astafiev is not as quick as Cecotto, but meanwhile Mons Tallinn just being able to keep at bay a hard charging Simone Iaquenta as they come over the timing line now. There down the pit lane, ready to rejoin is Astafiev, and he's back on track. Now, in fairness, Astafiev has been getting quicker over the course of the season, but is it going to be enough to keep these two at bay that are absolutely side by side? Iaquenta in the silver colours, the yellow with trim flying is the car of Mons Tallinn, who is ahead as they get up through Eau Rouge, and that was brave stuff. Off the road and back on again goes Mons Tallinn. He was not to be denied, and even though Iaquenta had the run down the hill, he couldn't make it work, but he might now if he gets a toe up towards Lecombe. It's knowing when to dive out of the slipstream and where there might be a gap. Iaquenta has to go to the outside line. Tallinn defends that. Good defensive driving all the way up the hill, and that could have been really, really dramatic at the bottom of Eau Rouge. I thought it was going to get ugly for a minute, but Mons Tallinn hangs on to the plate. Good racing. Not hanging on to the left side ring mirror, though, on the 77. Iacquinta fully lost that little bit of drag reduction down the Kemmel Straight. Won't really make any kind of meaningful difference, albeit dramatic for the cameras. But it's one thing to use the side draft. I think they used a little bit too much of it as they headed into Eau Rouge. That was properly exciting. Let's take another look at this. We know how high committed Eau Rouge and Radion are. To make a move before that corner is one thing. To make the move mid-corner is something entirely different. Really well done in defense for Talon.
I think Iacquinta sort of checked up, didn't he? As he got to the bottom of the hill, he thought, this might be a bit leery, and it just looked like he lifted fractionally and let Tallinn secure that place, confident that he could have a go up the hill at Le Con, but that didn't work either. So now as they come through Piff Paff, he's all over him like a rash, goes one side, can't do it, slots under the rear wing, and now with the lights on, look, they've caught right up, haven't they, to Sergei Astafiev on his outlap. Astafiev is going to lose these places, I think, by the end of that. And that's what I was talking about, the pace difference. Chikoto to Astafiev. And here they come. Tallinn in the yellow car. Iacquinta right with him. This is effectively for second, third and fourth. And Mans Tallinn lines up to have a go. Admittedly, he's in a Pro Cup car, so is Iacquinta. And they just fly past.
And doing it wisely before Blanchiment as well. You don't want to be the cork in the bottle heading through that particular corner. So Astafiev doing a nice job of bowing out of the way. And now he's got another battle to contend with behind. But I thought for a moment Tallinn might use the 31 like a little bit of a pick in basketball to place a barrier between himself and his opponent. But both cars doing a nice job, and the 72 going right with him.
And actually, Jesse Spinkovic is not that far behind. So now Brendan Leach has given way to Don Yount, number 70. So we need to see where that is relative to the pack behind. And we'll do that during the course of this lap. So number 70 with an incoming driver. We've also got Bronek Formanek now in for Anthony Pretorius. And Patrick Fraboni has also now taken over the car that is notionally in third place. That then is Don Yount in the lead. And it is quite a gap that he has been afforded by Brendan Leach. So Brendan staying out for as long as he could has been sensible. Through in second place by the look of it, Bronek Formanek. That is Shotarab Karsava now for third, and fourth is Tallinn, and up into fifth place now goes Miguel Cristoval, and in sixth place is Simone Iacquinta, number 72, but Iacquinta comes up on the inside and he just gets past Cristoval. Iacquinta saying, hold my pint, I'm coming through, and he dive bombs him on the inside and picks up the place.
Take nothing away from a tremendous comeback effort for the 66 after all but stalling at the start of this race. Has done a nice job at making their way all the way back up to fifth overall as it stands and fourth in class.
We understand Stefan Lemre is going slowly on track. The Belgian driver has a problem as there Jesse Spinkovic tries to get through the traffic. Now, Shotarab Karsava, I think, is going to start to lose places. Lemre being very, very intelligent there. He's got a puncture. He's driving, as you can see, as far off the racing line as possible. And also drama now for Sergei Astafiev, because he has ground to a halt coming out of Bruxelles. But fair play to Lemre, getting out of people's way, driving on the grass to preserve the tyre, but also not be in anybody's way. Look, he's on the run-off tarmac going up to Blanchiment. That is very sensible.
Absolutely, and it's not all that much longer of a crawl, though it will seem agonizingly long in the race car. Doing the wise thing, doing the smart thing, and just underneath, the 44 has all kinds of trouble with the 72 able to come to the 4. Iacquinta had been making that move, or the intentions of making that move known for a couple of laps' time, flashing the headlights up. Radion finally now to the 4. Time to see what pace he has in hand. But the battle for the 44 is not done yet. Tallinn is going to have company in probably just a few meters' time as they hit the brakes for the bus stop.
And look what's limping into the bus stop chicane. It is Stefan Lemre's car. So there's Abkhazova, there's Iacquinta, and well done, Stefan Lemre. Gets completely out of everybody's way. That ought to be used in a driver's briefing of how at Spa you get back to the pits with a problem. Stefan Lemre deserves a massive round of applause for that, because that has been the perfect in-lap with a troubled car. Fair play, Stefan. I know he's very experienced. He's raced here in all sorts of things for decades, but that has just been a lesson to everybody to get the car back to the pits.
Not an easy thing to control a race car with a wheel loose or a tire punctured, but to do it on grass as well when there's a battle raging behind you, absolutely.
Yeah.
Credit where credit is due.
Right, that, as you see going downhill, is another place about to change, because the car that Benedetto Strignano started, number 15, goes absolutely toe-to-toe there with now Matthias Salonen on the climb up the hill. I thought that Nicola Pujati was going to get ahead in 15. If anything, he's going to get mugged, isn't he? Because as they head up the hill now, you can see that Salonen is going to be able to keep that place, and Spina comes back at them. Right, up front, Don Yount leading. Patrick Fraboni is in second place, and it's 5.5 seconds between them. Patrick Fraboni took over from Silas Rutter in a car that didn't really feature in the first stint, but now, as we have a yellow flag at turn 9 because of that parked car, the gap's coming down. And what's more important is that Fraboni has put himself into the lead. This is him in the Oregon car, into the lead of the Pro Cup. So it's all change.
Absolutely, and for those who were trying to charge their way through the field, Christovau amongst them, who had lost a little bit of ground to a trio of cars battling in front. This will help them when the field bunches up. Here's your race leader, you can see, 70, Yount.
So that was Don Yount being passed, by Patrick Fraboni. But in fairness, that's not Don Yount's battle. He's in a Pro-Am car. That's a Pro Cup car. That's the one he's fighting behind. That's Bronick Formanek. That's his class rival.
Exactly. You never want to tangle with somebody outside of your class, as everything will bunch up under full course yellow. That 31 was unable to get out of the way. Did a sporting job at pulling off of the racetrack, although it's just about corner exit at a pretty fast corner. You never really want to have a car stranded there.
That was his outlap, wasn't it, for Sergei Astafiev, straight out of the pits?
If it was, or maybe his outlap, or just 1 or 2 done, but either way, it looked like all 4 tires were attached, but again, we'll have to see another shot of the car. But it was stranded, but he did stop it under his own power.
Yeah, true. I just wondered when it stopped whether it was a bit low on one corner, which is why it's taking a bit longer to move it, and we need this full course yellow. So Alain Adon, the race director, gives the shout with just under 14 minutes on the clock. What he wants to do, of course, is move that car quickly and then go back to racing rather than have to throw a safety car, which would hurt some and help others. So there is the car. If you roll down the hill, then there is that cut through at the inside of Speaker's Corner of the motorbike track. But the recovery crew get the rope, they'll attach, and they'll try and hook that car out of the way as rapidly as possible.
The battle I'm going to be very keen to watch here. 15th overall, Todd Kingsford making his European debut this weekend with Lippert Motorsport. But he is the Super Trofeo Asia Pro-Am points leader. Has been locked in that battle for the AM class lead with Ogier and Peterson really right from the beginning. And I think that's going to hot up once we go green again, because they will be absolutely nose to tail.
Well, if that did have a suspension problem, it seems to be moving. But is that front right wheel looking right? Anyway, let's try and deduce when we have another look. Let's get to the pit lane, because the car that now leads, Patrick Fraboni, was started by Silas Rutter, and he's with Dakota.
Silas, you're looking pretty hot and sweaty now. You did a great first stint. Obviously, Patrick's out there in P1 right now. He's doing some very good driving. How do you feel about him?
Really good, actually. I got a good start, and we're up to, I actually don't know, P6 or P5 maybe. And I tried to make a gap to the car in front to keep the temps down on the engine, tires, and the brakes, and just try to manage that gap and manage the tires, so Patrick has a weapon for the second stint.
Any concerns at the moment as you now head into the end of the race?
No, actually not. Now there's a full course yellow. He's starting from P1, and I think I did a good job managing the tires. Better than most of the others. I could see they were fighting a lot, so I'm not worried.
We're going to find out when he gets out the car. Thank you very much, Silas. Good luck.
Stefan Lemre's race goes from bad to worse, because not only has he had the puncture and had to limp home, but also the car's being given a 1-second time penalty for being fractionally short on the pit stop, and so also is 33, which was Alessio Ruffini before it became Milos Pavlovic behind the wheel. We're still under full course yellow conditions. We've got 12 minutes and counting on the clock. We're down to 11 and a half actually now, and there the car of Astafiev is off the road, and that's deemed to be in a safer place. So the recovery crew got it out of the danger zone on the outside of a corner, and hopefully there it's a little bit more protected, but we're still not yet at a green flag.
I think when we do go racing again, though, the battle should rage on. We look here with your leader in Pro-Am, the number 11.
So that's jumped ahead, hasn't it? Formanek's got past Yount for the class lead, which was always the danger. So Brendan Leach had that monster advantage, didn't he, up front, 6 seconds over everybody else. And now the car is third in the race and second in class. So again, it shows the differing pace of a Pro-Am combination.
We saw Formanek lurking behind Yount, especially when he gave way to Fraboni at the head of the field before the field fell under caution. But I wonder how quickly thereafter that the 11 got to the 4. Definitely before the yellow came out and halted the progress, but it couldn't have been that long after, because it wasn't that long after the Fraboni car went to the front that we did go under yellow.
So there is Shotrov Karzava, who is also in Pro-Am. He would like this to become safety car because it would bring him quickly onto the back of Don Yount. But you can see 31 sort of out of harm's way, sitting at the top of the picture. But the recovery crew now, I think, want to pull that back through that gap, don't they? So they've had to take the rope off the front, put it on the back. Now they can reverse it through that gap. And race directors are saying, come on, come on, come on, I want to get this race going again. Doesn't want to leave it for too long under full course yellow, wants to be able to quickly withdraw that and go green. And we need the marshals out of harm's way as well. And it's taking longer, I think, than anybody first anticipated. Anyway, that continues as we've got now 9 3/4 minutes to go here in race 1 of 2 in Lamborghini Super Trofeo at Spa. Patrick Fraboni leading in Pro, Bronick Formanek in Pro-Am. In Am, now Todd Kingsford has got himself back to the head of the queue. And in Lamborghini Cup, that is Francesco Terzo, who is leading, but he's quite a long way down in 19th place right now.
Chance, by the way, for the overall race leader, for Brony, to do something pretty special, but we'll head down to the pit lane with Dakota in just a moment because Dakota has been busy finding more stories down to the pits.
Anthony, a great first stint from you, especially handling with these conditions. Now, we just spoke to Silas, and he doesn't seem particularly concerned, because obviously he's in first now. Your teammate's obviously the Am in the car, but the Pro-Am competition is really tough at the moment. How's this restart going to go?
No, I hope it goes well. I think Bronick's got it under control. I left the tires in good conditions for him, I think, so yeah, hopefully he can bring it home in P2 overall. I think it's unrealistic to catch the number 36 car now, so we just need to bring it home and hope for that result.
Thank you very much. We have a few more laps to go. Let's watch on. Thank you very much, Anthony.
So we're back racing. Thanks to Dakota. Patrick Fraboni then leads. Bronick Formanek in second place. We've got a yellow out at turn 9 because there's another car off into the gravel, and as the dust settles somewhere in all of that I fear maybe Karim Auger, number 7 it is, Karim Auger, who's dropped out of that Am battle. And there's also another car that's off the racetrack, and it's 38, which is Philip Tang. So here, change for the lead. Fraboni has got a problem, I reckon, because charging past him was Bronick Formanek, almost as though there Fraboni expected a full course yellow because he seemed to sort of give up the place, didn't he? Maybe the team said yellow flag and he thought they meant full course yellow again, but Formanek from nowhere just came streaming past him, and now look, Fraboni is on the attack again.
Yeah, we know the pace that's in the 36 and seemed to get back on the loud pedal about halfway up the straight in Radion, but a safety car is out. We had local yellows at turns 8, 9, and 12 respectively, and now race control opting to halt the field and crucially bunch them together behind the safety car.
Yeah, safety car deployed because somebody's ground to a halt, look, coming out of, it's Philip Tang, isn't it, coming out of turn 9, and it's right on the racetrack, as you saw. So the car hopefully is able to trickle downhill and out of the way, and it has trickled, and it's trickling, but we've gone safety car. Now, this is one of those awful situations for race control. We've deployed the safety car, but the car it's been deployed for is moving.
That's true. We did have 2 other stricken cars, though. One in the gravel trap there that you can see. That's the 7 of Auger climbing out, well and truly beached. I don't believe there's any recovering from that, regardless of how good your throttle control is. But hard to see because Auger was locked in a really enticing battle for the M class. You hear the squeal of the tires, the camera pans, and there goes the 7 around into the gravel.
That all looks as though that was self-induced because there was nobody within the same postcode really there. Yeah. Karim Auger sort of holds his head, doesn't he, as he walks away, hangs his head. That's on him. So having dropped out of the Am battle in which he was second, Karim Auger then out of the race, and the other car, Philip Tang, ideally they'd like him out of the way, pull off the racetrack rather than limp to the pit lane, wouldn't they?
They certainly would. This completely changes the dynamic of the Am battle as well. The 69 car, Hewlin behind the wheel, right in the mix now with a chance at the win with Peterson in pit lane as well in the 97. That was another Am class contender. So that one completely turned on its head, even though we were green for maybe only half a lap's time.
Yeah. So yellows breed yellows and all that, but we've gone from a full course yellow now to a safety car period, and we haven't got much race left. So first of all, the safety car needs to find the leader. Don't forget, although the safety car was called about a third of a lap back, they haven't yet caught the safety car. So Patrick Fraboni was fighting with Bronick Formanek, and it is, as they come towards the chicane, Formanek ahead, having made that pass. Still trying to work out exactly why Fraboni sort of gave the lead away, unless he was confused by thinking it was about to be a full course yellow, not just a yellow flag further up the road, or he may have had a problem. But he's now in second place, although still leading pro. Third is Simone Iaquenta, that car from 8th on the grid. In 4th place, Jerzy Spinkovic. 5th is Shotrab Kazava. 6th now is Don Yount. So Brendan Leach's efforts are only just clinging onto a podium. That car now 3rd in class. Mons Tallinn is 7th, I should say, in the car that was on pole. And 8th now is Matthias Salonen. It's going to take a while to get out of the way. That's Philip Tang's car that's ground to a halt. We've got 5 minutes to go. I'm not seeing many more racing laps here.
No, I'm not either. If we do get any, it would be something resembling a green-white checker situation, although I don't know that that is likely. Of course, race officials and the track stewards have safety on their mind, as they should, as the #1 priority, and doing the safe thing, calling the safety car. There's a look at the minds behind race control and the safety team. It's a job I don't envy, but one I respect immensely. It's incredibly difficult to know what to do in these situations, and they do a sterling job of it, especially at a place like Spa that commands so much respect.
Absolutely. In the middle of that, you saw the back of Alain Adon with headset on, radio in hand. Alain, very experienced Belgian race official, but also fluent in Italian, which helps when you're doing Lamborghini Super Trofeo activity, dealing with different groups. Now, this is what happened to Fraboni. So he comes downhill, looks like he's got a big advantage, and out of nowhere, Fomenek just sweeps past him, almost as though, like I say, Fraboni was thinking we're having to slow down, and then he managed to catch back up again. So I'm still slightly mystified by what was going on there.
It may have been a trick of the light. I did think I saw Marshall toss a blue flag out the side of the pit wall. I don't want to say that concretely without confirming it again, but it was just something I picked up out of the corner of my eye. It did look, I would suspect you're right, maybe he got some communication over the radio of a yellow flag. And these radios are not crystal clear. It's not like listening to the broadcast. You have a roaring V10 engine behind you, you have tires squealing, you have wind rustling by the plexiglass windows, and you have an engineer shouting in your ear instructions and trying to relay that as concisely and clearly as possible, but it's easier said than done.
Yeah, true enough. And of course, now Fraboni desperately wants a proper restart, doesn't he? But we've got a car in the gravel to be removed. We've got Philip Tang's car. Look, it's almost got to that vehicle access gate. But again, you've got to go past it and then turn the car, the tow car to the back and move the rope and tug it through that gap. So with 3 minutes to go, I'm really not looking to many racing laps here, I'm afraid to say. The race director wants this done as quickly as possible. No, they're not going to take it to that gap. They're going to try and take that car off the circuit somewhere else, which might be faster. That message on the bottom of the screen is to lots of the fans in the grandstand here that get the same pictures that you're watching, reminding them to keep drinking and protect themselves from the sun, because even though it's now starting to become early evening, 6 o'clock virtually here, it's still very warm temperatures. Actually, 1 or 2 more puffy clouds have arrived in the last half an hour, but it's still jolly hot here. And the fans have had a good day, that is for sure. So also have the trade stalls, from beer to water to soft drinks to hats to T-shirts. Oddly, I've never seen such a dry event sell as many umbrellas, but it has happened to keep the sun off.
As a Californian, an umbrella for the sun is a completely foreign one to me, but something that's been neat to see here. As I said, this has been a really fun weekend, just seeing one of the most iconic racing venues anywhere in the world. I still marvel at how quickly clouds can roll in. It was blue skies with not a cloud in sight about 5 minutes ago, and all of a sudden a welcome reprieve for all of us, I think, namely the fans. We're lucky we're inside with some air conditioning, but a little bit of cloud cover. I think for the drivers as well, everyone would like to go racing, but a chance to not quite cool down, but perhaps maybe get a little bit of cooler air and cool off, catch the breath, get a little bit of an extra drink from the drinks bottle that's probably well and truly tea at this point in the car. But either way, you're not sweating as hot under the collar, not fully at race speed.
To the chicane they come. We're going to start the last lap, so here's your answer. This is the order, unless there's a penalty, and there are a couple of cars, as we've been saying, with short pit stop penalties. But effectively now, Bronek Fomenek and his start driver from number 11, Anthony Pretorius, are going to win the 5th race in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, because with no overtaking permitted, even if the safety car peels in, you can't overtake until you get to the line, and the line's where the checkered flag is. So the result is the order is the result now. They go down to La Source. Oft people ask, well, if you know that they're not going to be able to restart, why don't you put the checkered flag out early? I have no idea why that does not happen. That's a question for a race director. But for now, You could argue that Lamborghini have paid for 50 minutes. They will get 50 minutes. But we've got number 75 under investigation. That is the Chris van der Drift Harai O car for maybe overtaking under a yellow flag. So that's going to be looked at post-race as well.
And that's one of our special one-off entries in the Pro-Am class for this weekend. Chris van der Drift, by the way, plenty experience. Your Asian Pro Class champion in 2023. But a chance, even if not at racing speed, for those in the lead of the classes to maybe take an extra victory lap or two around here, especially in the context of how close the class battles have been in points. This is probably welcome.
Now, news about Patrick Fraboni's car. It is a fuel temperature sensor issue. It is so hot out there that some of the sensors are thinking it's too hot. One or two cars also starting to suffer from a bit of fuel vaporization as well. So the temperatures are playing a part in all of this. And I suspect you made the point about this little bit of cloud cover. It's not just fans, it's cars as well, and technology that's quite grateful now. So for the last time, they come down now to Bruxelles. But yeah, Patrick Fraboni's car effectively sort of crying for mercy for a few seconds because it was so hot, and then just as that temperature dipped, it was able to pick up pace once again. But that's why he lost the lead. It wasn't a radio communication as we were pondering, but it was a fuel temperature sensor. How could we not have spotted that?
Well, as I said before, I am but a lowly commentator and not a race engineer. I have a bachelor's in journalism and not a master's in engineering.
Interesting as well, sorry to interrupt you, but the way now, look, the gaps are all opening up, and I can only assume this is for cool air, because if they've been running in a line like that, they're getting hotter and hotter. So you can see the way Simone Iaquinta in third place has fallen right back to try to get some cool air in the front of the car, and he knows he's not going to lose anything by doing that because it's the checkered flag this time.
Right, and it shows you just how critical these temperatures are if they're doing this in the latter section of what is the last racing lap, not at racing speed. It is absolutely, even with the cloud cover, brutal out there temperature-wise.
So to Piff Paff they come. There's an argument from the teams potentially to say to the safety car crew, speed up, because the faster you go, the faster we can go, the better the air through the front of the car is. That's your AM winner-elect, Todd Kingsford. So the first time we've seen him in Super Trofeo Europe, and from the Asian Championship, the Australian driver is set for a class win. Welcome aboard. It's going to be a Pro-Am win for Bronick Formanek, a Pro win for Patrick Fraboni. They're the drivers that will bring them home. And Francesco Turzo is still on target for Lamborghini Cup honours. So, you had it all. You've had safety cars, you've had full course yellows, you've had different strategy, you've had jumbled orders, you've had lots of overtaking, we've had one or two mechanical gremlins, and through it all, Bronick Formanek and Anthony Pretorius, I should say, are going to be our race winners. Now, the other thing you need to know about Super Trofeo Europe, Jonathan, and Bronick Formanek is he has a trademark woolly hat. This could be the day that the woolly hat does not make an appearance. I think it's too hot even for his... If I say bobble hat, does that mean anything to an American?
It does not.
It does not. OK, that's for later on. The safety car brings them down the pit lane, and... Oh, no, some go down the pit. Now, this is going to throw the apple cart, isn't it? The safety car is in, and the leader has followed the safety car in, and therefore will not take the flag on the track. So that's going to give the win to Simone Iaquinta, because he was the first one across the line. Patrick Fraboni went for the pits and realised his error, and so there the win has been taken away in error from Anthony Pretorius, because Bronick Formanek thought he was doing the right thing by following the safety car. The safety car came into the pit lane. He should have stayed on the track to take the checkered flag, and now you've got a completely different race winner.
And this is massive in the Pro-Am points tally, and you could see the frustration and the confusion. A mistake probably easily made, but in the context of the Pro-Am points battle, it was a point difference, a single point between what would have been your race leader, Formanek, and Pretorius, over the Joseph Knopp and Team Morgan team. A single point. And on a really poor day for the 61 car, that will drop them well down the order. That would have been a really, really welcome swing heading into tomorrow. They will not get that points tally in their favor. And here's another look at what happened just at the end of the lap. One corner from victory under safety car.
What we did not have was a message to say safety car in this lap. So you could argue that Formanek was doing the right thing by following the safety car. And then, look, Fraboni thinks, no, that's the wrong thing. And he gets back onto the track, but Iaquinta goes past. Now, you could argue that Iaquinta shouldn't have overtaken him. Do you have to take the checkered flag on the track? discuss. Formanek is still being shown on our timing and scoring as the race winner, even though he did not get to that timing line before the others. So I have to confess at the moment, for me, I think they've gone back a lap on the result because they put Fraboni second ahead of Iaquinta. Right, I'm going to hang fire on this result because I'm not entirely sure who's been given what place.
They may have. If they did go back one racing lap, that would effectively put the order back where it was. And albeit for a temporary heartbreak, I can look out the commentary window now and see that some of the members of the crews are trying to converse with one another. They are on the radios eagerly, and I think trying to get a resolution here. I'm curious as well if they didn't go back a racing lap, if we saw a pass under yellow for our would-be race winner.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now the result is being shown on the screen as a win for Formanek and Pretorius. So this is what we have on our timing screen. Bronek, Formanek and Anthony Pretorius being shown as the race winners. The cars, as you can see, being marshalled down the endurance pits. And the result has gone back one lap to avoid the confusion. So Bronek, Formanek and Anthony Pretorius are given a get-out-of-jail free card, and they win race 1 in Lamborghini Super Trofeo from Patrick Fraboni and Silas Rutter, Simone Iaquinta and Kevin Gilardoni third. But you can imagine that's a team that will argue the point. Jerzy Spinkovic fourth ahead of Don Yout and Brendan Leach from Henry Tuamala and Matteo Salonen. Seventh to Miguel Cristobal and Paul Levey from Rogerio Grotta and Alfio Spina. Mons Tallinn and Axel Bengtsson ninth from Benedetto Strignano and Nicola Poggiati in 10th place. Pro winners Fraboni and Ritter, Pro-Am Formanek and Anthony Pretorius. In Am, Todd Kingsford, and in Lamborghini Cup, Francesco Terzo at the end of one of the more confusing finishes to a race that we've had in a long time.
I think our now confirmed race winners will be sighing probably the largest sigh of relief. I can see the photographers smiling, the team clapping each other on the shoulder just outside of our commentary window, and for good reason. I think a get-out-of-jail-free card is an apt description. But this now will have our race leaders, the number 11, benefit from a pretty healthy point swing after a poor day for the 61. But boy, what could have been? That could have gone in a flash if race control had not gone back one racing lap prior. Of course, with the field under yellow the whole time, nothing in theory changes, albeit from a slight bobble or two at the end under safety car.
All right, to play devil's advocate, if you are the team of Kevin Gilardoni and Simone Iaquinta that stood to win that race, you now say, why have you gone back a lap? So I can imagine this might rumble on, but that's what we have been shown as our race win. Let us, in the meantime, go and hear from happy drivers in the pits with Dakota.
Well, Anthony, that was a little bit of touch and go there, but this is well and truly yours today. Now, this is the first ever win for you and for the team. Outright win overall. Congratulations. How must you be feeling?
No, honestly, I think it's just amazing. We really had this as a goal for the season. We knew it would be possible, but it was going to be difficult. So just to achieve this, it's really a dream come true, especially with Bronek. I've been getting closer to him, getting to know him quite well, so it's quite special for both of us, and just really happy. Thanks to everyone.
What did you learn today that you can take to tomorrow's race, obviously with the conditions today and the car setup?
I think we need to just stay in clean air and try and find a way to get a bit of a gap and keep the car cool. I think you can see the reliability that comes into play when you're behind and it's this hot, so I think that's the aim for tomorrow.
Congratulations, a good win. Thank you very much.
I don't think Anthony Pretorius can quite believe it, because from heartbreak, there, thinking, no, where's the car? Look at the hand, look at the hand. Like, I can't believe it. He's thrown it away. And then they give him the win. The team obviously thought we'd blown it and didn't expect that the result would go back a lap.
Oh, and then there was this moment as well. Oh my gosh, I mean, this had, like you said, a little bit of everything. We had safety cars, we had incidents, we had phenomenal battles, and then we had a little bit of consternation under yellow on the last corner. But a head-in-hand moments will turn to probably a very welcome victory celebration after some of the confusion is cleared. Race control opting to go back a lap and finally settling us and confirming our results.
The one thing that we never had was a message to say safety car in this lap, and that's our reasoning behind why race control have said that's on us. We didn't give you the message, so it's understandable that Formanek followed the car in. That was what we said at the time, that the safety car's leading them down the pit lane, but other teams have been on the radio saying stay out, stay out, stay out. And if race control have said that's on us, then that's to the benefit of Formanek and Anthony Pretorius. Anyway, I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion overnight, and we'll bring you more of that tomorrow when we look forward to race 2. Kevin Gillardoni showing everybody he can the race footage, but in the meantime, we'll work out what the championships are going to look like across the classes. In Pro, Patrick Fraboni, along with his co-driver Silas Rutter, are ahead of Simone Iaquenta and Kevin Gillardoni. Benedetto Strignano and Nicola Pujati next from Mattias Salonen and Henry Tomala. Then Rogerio Grotta and Alfio Spina come next. But with those two crews tied on points, looking good for tomorrow.
Yeah, we mentioned it could have been a big point swing. It was a 4-point difference coming into the weekend. It will certainly not leave that way going into tomorrow.
Bronick Formanek and Anthony Pretorius have had a good bank raid within Pro-Am. As you look at the clouds, little puffy clouds over the circuit, that's about the only cloud we've seen here in the last week. This is what Pro-Am looks like. 10-point advantage now for Formanek and Pretorius from Josef Knopp and Pietro Perolini. Then Paolo Biglieri and Marzio Moretti ahead of Milos Pavlovic and Alessio Ruffini.
Yeah, Knopp and his teammate Piero were only 1 point behind your still consistent race leaders, or points leaders, I should say, in the number 11, the Mechanic Motorsport crew. But boy, what could have been had we not gone back one racing lap. And you and I were talking about it briefly off air. I suspect the lobbying will continue well after the podium is finished.
Yeah, I think you're right. Don Yout gets second in Pro-Am in the end, with the efforts of Brendan Leach, and Miguel Cristobal and Paul Levet take third. So despite that drama off the grid, at least there's something for the team to celebrate. Now the team's thinking, where are the cars? Where's my co-driver? Because some, of course, will wave down the endurance pits. But if you remember, a long, long time ago, Axel Bankston was the leader and Brendan Leach was second and Jonathan Cecotto was third. And the result that we end up with looked nothing like that.
No, that seems ages ago with how much we had in this first race of the weekend. But if this is any indication of the excitement to come tomorrow, I'm here for it, because we saw the battles that we did get under green were plenty exciting. I think the M class was a personal favorite. Todd Kingsford, a debut weekend. What a result for him, because It's not like he was just handed that one. He was battling all the way through, but driver classifications in Lamborghini Cup as well.
And Alberto Baptista then is your class leader in the championship by 4 points from Francesco Turzo. Holger Hampson 1 up on Pedro Molla Demant. Claude-Yves Gosselin missed today's race, and Umar Abdullah Basalamah is now level with him. The Lamborghini Super Trofeo across all the regions, putting these 4 classes on track, giving everybody something to fight for, and much discussion amongst everybody. Everybody has an opinion, that's absolutely guaranteed. And Bronick Formanek, for now, feeling pretty pleased.
I would think so as well, but even still trying to get a little bit of clarification, it would appear, from some of his teammate. Boy, but we mentioned the M class and the battle that was raging on there. Again, coming in to a track like Spa, for your first time against a field of competitors you don't know, not an easy thing to come away with a good result. And we saw some drama at the end of the race as well, with some of the contenders falling by the wayside, with some late dramas, a puncture, an issue, fuel just about vaporizing into the hot conditions. But I think Todd Kingsford will be smiling at that one.
Well, a good debut, most definitely, for Todd Kingsford. And he had to work for it as well, because he was up and down the order early on and around the pit window as well. He was helped a bit, maybe, by Karim Auger dropping off the road. But even so, he had to cope with all of the pressure in that battle and eventually coming home victorious. So with the cars being taken to the endurance pits and many of the teams being in the F1 pits, that's why there's a shortage of drivers before we get ready for more activity here at Spa. But we'll see if we can get the drivers to the podium, and that'll come after we've had a look at race 1 of the weekend. A good getaway from Axel Bankston, a bad getaway with a fuel pump sensor issue for Paul Levet. Really shuffled the order at turn 1. It put Brendan Leach up into 2nd place, and Jonathan Cecotto was 3rd as they rounded La Source and set off downhill. Renaud Coupens was given a bit of hip and shoulder coming out of Les Combes. Around he went, and later in the lap, the tyre came off the rim. Coupens was bound for the pit lane and fell off the lead lap. A really brave effort by Egor Orodchev put him around the outside of the traffic, and further down the order there was more argumentative racing. Todd Kingsford getting roughed up a little bit on his championship debut. He was involved in a really big battle for the AM class lead. He lost it and he fought back. Out of the chicane, Kingsford putting himself back in front of newcomer Ole Pedersen. Then he had to fend off Karim Ogier in one of the fiercest fights of the early part of the race. Ogier went through and then hooked a wheel in the gravel as Brendan Leach finally managed to get his way past Axel Benson for the race lead and then tried to break away. He stayed out for as long as he could as the pit stop cycled through and the drivers fresh out of the cars took on some water. Simone Iaquinta was on an absolute mission as he tried to elbow his way up past Lance Tallinn. It wasn't to be, and he had to slot back in as they climbed up through Radion. John Yount lost the race lead to Patrick Fraboni with Bronek Formanek chasing hard. Formanek looking for a Pro-Am win. But in the end, when Fraboni had a drama, he was going to sweep into the race lead. And this was how it all happened after they got Sergej Afastiev's car out of the way. Another sensor drama. Fraboni slow downhill, Formanek into the lead of the race, and then with a late race safety car, that was enough to give a race win to Bronek Formanek and Anthony Pretorius, despite the fact the car came into the pit lane in error. But the result was backdated, and honours went to the Czech team.